Tata is on a roll. The Nexon and Punch setting sales charts on fire. And of course, they rule the EV space. So when you're ahead, do you play it safe?
It's hard, concrete with a thing, I'm hard. Give me the mic, I'll go hard.
Or be brave and take a massive risk?
Man, don't get a warning, I'm hard. Double like how do you go so hard? If you don't know,
They took the risk.
down when I'm in there. I've been doing it for time, ask about me, I've been doing it for time. Man, can't chat about the ring.
Welcome then everybody to the first ever Desi Coupe SUV, the Tata Curvv.
Club, man, up the youth club, man, I've been doing it for time. I've been doing it for time, ask about me, I've been doing it for time. Man, can't chat
To be precise, the Curvv Electric, and that makes this the first car to be launched in India as an electric first, with the petrol and diesels to follow soon.
club, man, I've been doing it for time.
I like how Tata is doing things these days. You want an EV? There you go. You want a petrol version? Sure, have one. You want a diesel? Yeah, they've got one of those as well. Okay, so from all the comments that we've seen, people want to know three main things. First, they want to know about the space on the inside or if there is enough. Second, they want to know about the overall design of the car and why they've done it. And third, and most importantly, they want to know if everything works the way it's supposed to.
But before we get to that, let's get some facts and figures out of the way.
You get two battery pack options, a 45 kilowatt hour and a 55 kilowatt hour. The 45 gives you 502 kilometers of official range, but unofficially, realistically, 330, 350, not bad. The 55 on the other hand, that's 585 kilometers on paper officially, but realistically, unofficially, 400, 425. So this 167 horsepower, which takes it from 0 to 100 in 8.6.
Let's go! Yes. And a top speed of 160 that's been electronically limited. And then there are some more figures, like 10% to 80% in 40 minutes using a charger that's greater than 70 kilowatts, 150 kilometers of top-up charge in 15 minutes, and just in case you, like a lot of people, struggle to find a charger, Tatas have now made it easier by tying up with 16 charge point operators around the country, and that pretty much has you covered. By the way, all those apps don't need to be on your phone anymore, they're all on the screen natively. But we aren't here to just read out a brochure. What we're here to tell you about are those three key things that you need to know.
Look, we know for a fact that the Coupe SUV will always be a controversial design choice. It always has been, always will be, and BMW can claim as much as it wants that the X6 was the first of its kind, but we think the Pontiac Aztek was the first real Coupe SUV in the world. Yep, that ugly brown thing from Breaking Bad, that car. It's essentially what you get when you merge an SUV with a four-door coupe. Oh, and about coupe, let's get this very clear straight off the bat, right? It is coupe, not coupe like the Americans say. Coupes are to put chickens in. Coupe are for stylish people.
Like it or hate it, there is no denying the fact that this design language has always stood out from the crowd.
Look, we often criticize Indian automakers for being too safe for the kind of decisions they make. Tata has played it gutsy this time around, and not only do I appreciate that, I actually kind of like the way this looks. Especially now that they've sorted out that absolutely awful rear stance on the cars that we saw at the Bharat Mobility Expo last year. Now, I often say this. You might not like the way this looks, you might not be a fan of this car at all, and that's completely fine. We respect your opinion just like you should respect ours. All I'm saying is when you do make that opinion known in public, especially in the comments below, just be slightly respectful about it and let's have a dialogue instead of being absolutely overly critical about it.
Of course, it still has the Tata DNA, so yes, it sort of looks like a Nexon, but it is much larger than a Nexon, especially around the back. And trust me, when you put the two of them together, you'll realize how much nicer this looks.
Especially this EV version, which has the smoothened out front end and it's got these 18-inch aero wheels. You might like them, you might hate them. Look, is it polarizing overall? Yes, it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
This seems to be the biggest point of contention amongst all the comments I've seen on our YouTube walk around and on social media. So let me just clear the air and tell you if the Tata Curvv has enough space in the back, yes or no. Simple question, right? Actually, it's twofold, because yes, as compared to say a normal SUV where the roof goes straight back and sort of into a hatch, yes, this has less space because the roof slopes down. But overall, it's not that bad. Now look, I'm sitting upright. I am a large person, as you guys all know. I'm 5 feet 10 and a half, just under 5'11", and I am still sort of comfortable here. Now there is enough leg space, so it's about 4.5, 5 fingers of leg space there, which is more than adequate. And you've got a little wiggle room on the bottom as well, because the floor is not super high as compared to some of the EVs where you sit really sort of crouched down almost.
It's time to break a little something.
Now let's talk about headspace, because that's the one that everybody was talking about. Tata has scooped out the headliner to give people more space to sort of wiggle their room in, and this is the upright seating position that I'm sitting in. The seat actually does recline. We will go there in a little bit, but see, even with the seat sort of in the upright position, even with me moving everywhere apart from like hitting my head once, look, I'm not really gonna, even if I'm buckled down, I'm going through really bad roads, it's not that bad, right? And I mean, you're not gonna go through the roof, you're not gonna smash your head on the roof. There's enough nice padding here in any case.
Right that I'm ripping the mic machine like giving me.
Now let's put the seat in that reclined position, which we are now, and this means a lot more comfort. You sort of lay back a little bit more. This is the ideal seating position here, and look, there's nice amounts of thigh support as well. I mean, these bolsters are sort of raised slightly as compared to the center one. There is a decent amount of leg support, under thigh support. It's touching all the way just sort of below my knees. And overall, this is the position I would actually travel in, because you sort of sit a little bit more back, headrest a little bit more at the back. You've got space. Again, you've got wiggle room for your head. Look, not touching, I'm going up and down like I'm riding a horse, or if I was driving over bad roads, and I'm still not touching my head. So overall, yes, there is enough space in the back of the Tata Curvv. Honestly, unless you are like really obnoxiously tall, I'm talking 6 feet plus, 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", something like that, which not a lot of people are, to be very honest. There is enough space in the back of this.
Gotta get wet, out the fire pit, yeah, flames on the spit.
I bet anything that the average age of the Tata Curvv buyer will be the lowest amongst every single car that Tata sells, simply because younger people will actually buy this car, because younger people are okay giving up a little bit of practicality in exchange for a little bit more style quotient. Do I make a lot of sense?
But does the Curvv really have no practicality at all? It does have a massive 500-litre boot, and if you fold the seats down, it's nearly 1,000 litres. And you have more storage in the frunk too. So it's not all style, it does have some substance. But how much substance? Well, I guess this is the point in the video where I get to drive it.
Come on, boss man said he bout that business. Big boss man said he bout that dope.
There is a level of chassis dynamics, chassis finesse that you expect from every single Tata car. It's there in the Punch, it's there in the Nexon, it's there even in the Safari and the Harrier, and it's sort of there in this as well. Now you do feel the weight, because this is the largest capacity EV that Tata has made, which also makes it the biggest EV Tata has made, and also the heaviest EV that Tata has made so far. Now you do feel slightly the weight sort of creep in, but it's not as bad as say the bigger, more premium EVs where you really start to feel the weight. Now 8.6 seconds to 100 is impressive. It does sort of overpower the traction control a little bit here and there, but again, that chassis finesse that I'm talking about, even if you put a wheel over the side of the road, it soaks it up so easily, it soaks it up well. That's something that all Tata cars in the recent past have had, and I hope it continues to have. Chassis dynamics are excellent on this car. Handling, not so much, again because of that weight that's starting to creep in, but I mean overall, this isn't as finessed as sort of well sorted in terms of the handling side of things as the Nexon is. The one funky thing about this though is I feel, and this is weird, I haven't had this feedback on a car for a very long time, but I think the steering wheel is rather too large for a car this size. I don't know if it's something that is sort of wonky in my head and I'm feeling this out of turn, but I think that there's just too much. It's too wide, it's too diametrically large, a steering wheel for a car like this. A slightly smaller steering wheel would have definitely been nicer, because it's just a little finickier, especially when you encounter traffic like this. Hello, Mr. Cow. Of course, driving modes which are on the bottom here, and when you do shift it, that weird sport drive mode activated has now been discontinued. It's just a little logo that changes on the dashboard, which is good, but they make a huge difference to the way this thing drives. In sport, it's obviously a lot more responsive as it is as compared to eco mode or city mode, and we've been driving in all three modes, and frankly the tuning in all three modes is excellent. It's exactly what you would expect. Eco is more gradual, city is sort of midway, and sport is, well, sporty. Right now I'm driving in sport, obviously, because I want full throttle acceleration whenever I demand it. And then you come to the regen braking bits. Now, you can completely turn it off and drive it as with zero regen braking, which I would not advise. Or you can turn it to level 1, which is my favorite, my ideal level, where you can feel the regen braking very similar to what engine braking in a nicely sorted ICE car is.
In the city, I would advise level 3 regen, but sadly Tata still hasn't completely adapted its drivetrain to a pure single pedal experience. That should have been added in this case, because once you do get used to single pedal driving, it genuinely is a game changer. However, for people like me and you who still prefer driving their cars, like really driving them, best to still use the brakes and maybe set the car to auto hold so that it doesn't roll off from a stop till you tap the throttle.
And so we come to the interior. Now this place has to be nearly perfect, because this is what you see, this is what you feel, this is what you touch, and this is where you rest your ass the whole day when you drive up and down, work, home, wherever. Thankfully, it has cool seats. Now that's an important feature for me, so that is a big check.
I often say the most important convenience feature for me is CarPlay, and on this one I can see things on a massive 12.3 inch screen that is genuinely super high quality, and honestly so is everything else. It might look vaguely similar to the Nexon, but everything does feel much better built.
Plastics are better, the use of materials overall is better, the steering wheel looks now nicer, and I wouldn't be wrong if I said this is one of the best Tata interiors that's ever been made.
This is a solid effort from Tata, and as seems to be the case with every Tata product, and we keep saying this, it gets better and better. While I don't think this will be a massive sales hit like the Nexon is, and for the sake of Tata, I hope I'm proven wrong, because it is more of a lifestyle-oriented vehicle, there will still be a whole number of people who will want to buy this for that exact reason. And the more people see this in real life with friends or neighbors and just in general around them, the more this will be on people's to-buy list. As an EV, this is exactly the car Tata needs right now for Nexon EV buyers upgrading to a different car, and this, at slightly over 20 lakh-ish for the EV space, is anyways a kind of empty space to deal with the exception of the MG Aster.
Here we go.
From us, this Tata Curvv EV gets an emphatic thumbs up. If and only if you like the way it looks and you don't mind that slightly less spacious rear cabin.
Okay, so that's the formal end of the video, but I'm going to do some sort of unscripted stuff at the end just to sort of talk about little bits and pieces that didn't really fit in the flow of the video, but I do want to talk about them because they are important to talk about. Let's talk about the positives, okay? Tata had a big issue where the indicator would like make weird repetitive noises. So instead of going click, 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 it would go click, 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 click. Like, you get what I'm saying, right? It wasn't the same exact click every single time. That's been sorted out. Tata had some issues with the screens. It seems that is sorted out. We've not had any glitching, any sort of slow responsiveness, no going blank on the instrument cluster either. I mean, the AC is still a little bit higher than what I'd like it to be. The first setting normally should be just a little whiff of air. This is just too loud. Apart from that, there are two big main things that I actually want to talk about. But wait, first two smaller ones. The DRLs went off momentarily and I then put the indicator on and it came back on. So there's definitely some sort of glitch there. And the 360-degree camera worked well apart from the rear, which sort of froze again for a few minutes, then came back on. The front was working, the sides were working, the rear just froze and it sort of showed the same image even though the car was moving, which is the whole point of the rear camera, so I don't know why. Okay, now the big two ones, right? First, the seat is just too small. I mean, it's just too small. I know I'm a larger person, but even Vikas, who's my sort of DOP, who's behind the camera, felt that the seat was a little small. I don't know why that is. It just looks small and just feels small. They could have easily given a larger seat. At least the back could have been larger. The sort of bottom's fine. The back could definitely be larger. And the other problem, the problem that I have been talking about for years and they still haven't sorted out, there is no cup holder in this. I mean, how can you have a cup holder less car? I don't get it. Yeah, fine, there are cup holders in the glove box here, but nobody's gonna put Coke or nobody's gonna put coffee with the glove box open, right? That's just absurd. Get rid of this wireless charger. Don't give a wireless charger. Nobody cares. People are gonna connect a USB and give us the cup holders back. Tata is not that difficult. Also, the USB points are still sort of buried deep inside. Still weird to access, but again, nobody uses USBs all the time. They just keep them there and let them be. Yeah, apart from that, there's no storage behind the rear seats. So like, for example, I like to drink water and then put the bottles behind the seat so that they don't roll around or they don't hit my leg. That's absent, which is a big negative. But yeah, apart from that, there aren't really many issues that have cropped up in our test drive. There have been issues in the past on certain cars. This one has been pretty fine. That said, there is an elephant in the room that I need to mention. Tata, please sort your service issues out. There have been too many stories, too many nasty examples, too many nightmares of people going to service centers and just getting sick and tired of the people who represent you at those service centers, or the lack of parts, or just the lack of general know-how. And this is something that I'm talking from experience. I've had very, very close friends who I have said, listen, go and buy the Tata Tiago EV, the Nexon EV and other Tata cars, and they've all had issues with service. So it's not something I'm sort of removing from thin air, from the cloud. It's actual issues that I have dealt with firsthand and tried to sort myself as well. So if Tata sorts that out, if Tata sorts the service issues out and sorts these small niggles that should not be there in the first place, they're going to have huge success, even more success than what they have right now. The product is great. It's the sort of little bits and pieces around that really need some work. So Tata, get on that. We like the stuff that you are making. I mean, yeah, the Sierra is next and we've seen it and we're really looking forward to driving that and sort of being passengers in that and looking at the final product. But you guys need to sort out your service first. It's unacceptable in this day and age, just unacceptable. Okay, apart from that, as I mentioned, product is great. Go out and buy one if you want. It's a good price point as well, 21.99 for the top spec one we'll be driving, 17.49 for the entry level version. That's the end of the video as we know it. I know it's been a little long this time around, but yeah, I think you guys like this unscripted stuff, so we've put it in. Tell me what you think of it in the comments, and again, as I said before, just be kind in the comments, right? It's not that difficult to do that. Have a discussion with me, have a negative point, it's fine, disagree with me, let's have a conversation. Cool? Okay, see you guys in the comment section below. See ya.